Music is terrible now. Or is it?
I don't know about you, I don't even know you, but I've been seeing a lot about how music kind of sucks these days, especially last year. 2025 was apparently such a slog that it deepened this concern that things were only getting worse, including the fact that there wasn't even a song of the summer. Wait, what? I can't even take you people seriously. There was already a ripping banger of a song dominating the charts that nobody wanted to give it to. Oh, well, Sabrina's here. Why not just like, oh, never mind. Go, K-pop demon hunters to the rescue. God damn it. And by the way, Song of the Summer for 2026 is like 5 songs because there's no consensus and we live in a perfectly sane world where everything makes sense, and that's just fantastic. Anywho, I'm saying all of this as if I don't know because I actually don't. I started to feel a decline in the quality of music back in the late 2000s. Do not get me wrong, there have been some amazing artists and amazing songs that have come out since then, but overall I just felt like after an era of revolution and expansion, and we were regressing and retracting, music wasn't feeling the same anymore. So I quit. That was until late last year, when Apple offered me a deal of a lifetime. 3 months of Apple Music, all for the price of 1. And I thought, you know what? Maybe it is time. Come out of retirement. Retirement's a weird way of putting it. Coming out of hiding and see for myself if music is actually terrible now. So I accepted that offer. This was also before realizing that YouTube Music was a completely separate app that I've had access to for years, but we don't talk about that. Doesn't matter. Now, it's time to listen to some new music.
Many months later.
We need to talk. What exactly does anybody mean when they say that music is terrible now? Is it the quality of the songs, the writing, the lyricism, the production? Does the music sound like bad karaoke recorded on a tape deck? Or drum sounds that sound like banging on garbage cans? Or is it vibes? I'm listening, but you don't seem to have anything interesting to say. The industry side comes up a lot. Rick Beato talks a lot about what he experienced as his time as a musician and producer and how that has changed in recent years, along with torturing himself with listening to the top songs on Spotify.
That's pretty bad.
Drew Gooden even had a recent video discussing the predatory nature of the modern music industry, which tells me he is, in fact, hacking my computer to get the scoop on whatever I'm working on so he could steal my views again. I'm just gonna be left with the 100 views that I get because people fall asleep during a Curtis Connor video and their TV autoplays my video for some reason. Look at that audience retention. I'm sure that that's not real, but Drew, it's okay. I'm not mad. I was always going to make the video that nobody cares about.
Maybe I'm not cut out for this.
On the other side, there seems to be just as much pushback with some really well thought out arguments to the contrary that could be summed up by the comments in this Reddit post, "Music is terrible now. It's because you're old. You aren't looking deep enough." And somebody will inevitably list a bunch of artists and albums that nobody heard of or asked for, while somebody else will list the exact artist creating the music that was the reason for the post in the first place. With all of that said, what did I think? I don't know, it was fine, I guess. Okay, so on the one hand, it was fine. I was able to enjoy myself. On the other hand, after listening for a while, I started wondering, where did the fun go? It was like everything that makes music fun and exciting and interesting or cool has just been completely stripped away. It felt like I was invited to the racetrack and they had this supercar waiting for me. And then they tell you to get in and I'm like, hell yeah. And then they tell you to sit back while the car drives itself around the track at a safe 45 miles an hour. Would I call that experience terrible? I drive a Prius faster than that in my regular life, so it would just feel like I'm experiencing something that's a little less than what I'm used to. Which is weird because the first thing people want to do is talk about how old you are. I think what I was expecting was something like from Back to the Future when Marty starts improvising and goes so far off the rails that even the kids felt that was obnoxious. But that wasn't my reaction. I was thinking, why does this sound the same, but boring? I have some thoughts and an idea that I'm calling playlist core, TM. But to fully explain that theory, I first need to explain where I'm coming from. I got into music for my own personal enrichment in the late 1900s. You know, the turn of the century. Could I have phrased that differently? No. I'm just trying to make millennials grab their Snuggies and cry into their Harry Potter books or whatever. I noticed when others compare music now with a past era, this is the era that gets brought up the most, the late 90s to the early 2000s. Part of it is absolutely recency bias. I don't want to actually completely dismiss that, but that aside, this was a hell of a time for music. It seemed like every genre was popping off. Pop, rock, rap, R&B, country. If you were interesting enough, you got in the door. You had country stars trying to be pop stars, rockers trying to rap, you had clowns trying to be cool. It was such a weird and exciting time for someone to get into music. And for me, I was endlessly curious. I regularly listened to Rick Dees in the weekly Top 40 to see what was happening with the charts. I even listened to the Dr. Demento show. For those unfamiliar, the Dr. Demento show would showcase novelty music. It would be weird, strange, sometimes awful, sometimes brilliant, but it was just a lot of fun hearing music that you'd literally never hear anywhere else. I looked up the Dr. Demento show to see when it ended because there's no way it could still be going on now. The show just retired after 55 years in October of 2025. Imagine, this show started in 1970, went on for almost 30 years before I found it, and then went on for almost another 30 years. Like, that's insane. Website looks like it hasn't been updated since 1970. I was addicted to music videos. I would watch TRL. VH1 had stuff like pop-up video. But there was also this weird programming block that I ran into that played Christian music videos. The addiction was real. Years later, I would be working with this guy who became a born-again Christian and was at that stage where everything was just through this lens of his newfound faith. And he was telling me that he was getting into Christian rap. I asked if he had ever heard of cross movement, and his eyes lit up like it was the first time he had truly been seen. But then also, there's stuff like a couple of years ago, there was a movie getting released in theaters called Better Man, starring Robbie Williams as a monkey based on his life not as a monkey, that no one in the United States seemed to remember who the hell Robbie Williams is.
Who is Robbie Williams, and why does he have a movie with a monkey CGI'd as himself? We don't even know who he is here.
I'm seeing a lot of TikToks where people are just going, who the f*** is Robbie Williams? Like, just getting really angry about it.
Yeah.
Your ass is mine!
They didn't remember songs such as Millennium, Rock DJ, or Angels, but I do. Angels is a song that I still love to this day. In fairness to my fellow Americans, I had absolutely no idea he became massively popular in pretty much the rest of the English-speaking world, except the United States. By 2008, he sold more albums in the UK than any other British solo artist in history. Take that, Elton John and David Bowie. Paul McCartney, I think, still has the record if you consider cumulative work, because remember, he was in a band called Wings that was quite popular. Do not get me wrong. I hold this era in high regard. There are timeless treasures and music that I still think about to this day. If you were to ask me to come up with 10 songs that showcase the best of the best music that humans had to offer to send to an alien civilization, since apparently they talk in mostly music, I guess, I'd be torn from the masterpieces of the classical era, jazz, avant-garde, or maybe just filling all 10 slots with Absolutely Story of a Girl. But as the 2000s dragged on, it felt like that party was dying. Everything started to feel watered down, formulaic, and sometimes stupid. That's when I quit. And since then, it's not like I've been completely living under a rock. I'm aware of who Lady Gaga and Billie Eilish is, but like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Ed Sheeran? I don't know if I've ever heard a single song from this guy. I did discover MUSE during this blackout period, who would become one of my favorite bands. It just sucks that they haven't come out with anything since the second law. No, get out! You are not recognized in this house! With me being so in the dark and then coming back and listening to hours of radio and playlist, there was just something that felt off. Recently, Ferrari unveiled their latest model, the Luce. What we were expecting is a cool variation on an iconic status symbol that modern designers have spent years working and iterating on. It was the best looking Hyundai that they have ever made. I guess I was hoping that by now, in the 2020s, you'd be trying to sell me something crazy that I wouldn't fully understand. And instead, you left me with a family sedan, but you're trying to charge me the cost of a water bottle at Coachella. And if you're thinking, clearly you haven't been listening to the right stuff. The other day, the playlist that I was listening to included Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero, followed by BTS's Dynamite. And sandwiched in between was Cardi B's Wet Ass Kitty. Grab a mop and bucket. These were Billboard Hot 100 #1 songs over the past 5 years. Tell me that I'm listening to the wrong stuff. I'm not saying that I hated it. I was enjoying myself. Some of it I actually thought was kind of good. But overall, it was just like everything was so forgettable. After a while, I'm like, where's the personality here? Where's the soul, the passion, the highs, the lows? Why does it feel like vibes rather than yes? Please play that again. Playlist core. The idea that for decades, music was about trying to stand out. And now, it's about fitting in. This is my theory on playlist core. From about the 1950s through the 2000s is considered a period of monoculture. By the way, this is going to be very US-centric. That's where I live and that's what I'm talking about, so shush. You love when we export our culture. Don't even lie. 1950s is important because we have a bunch of inventions and cultural shifts that sort of collide within this period. According to the Nielsen Company, in 1950, 9% of households had televisions. In 1955, that number had jumped to 64.5%, and by the end of the decade, that number was 87%. Television would start to take over the entertainment that used to be the domain of radio. Following the introduction of the vinyl record in the late 40s, there was an immense amount of recorded music that was being produced, which meant radio can flip to primarily playing music and operate way more cheaply than it had in the past. This, along with the transistor radio being introduced in 1950, allowed music radio to spread like wildfire. The main through line is that we had singular monolithic pillars delivering media to everyone at the same time. You had a small group of people that curated, controlled, and produced content that was beamed out to a massive audience. Think of this period like throwing a party. I never heard this song before. Well, it looks like he has. This is my jam.
Who is this, by the way?
Oh, it's the something or others. How deep is your iceberg? Hey, everyone. Bread's ready. What did I miss?
Nothing. Just enjoying the playlist.
That's great. I've been tweaking it to get it just right. Well, it's been perfect so far. I've been introduced to so many new things. Music makes the party. No. Friends do. And it's great that we get to share in this moment and that things will never change. It's just nice to know that moments like these makes life worth living. God, I used to throw the best parties. As more and more people adopted the internet, that massive audience that got its media from a single source starts to spread out and get siloed into our own little existence. This would be referred to as the Great Flattening. And you might think that we have these new monolithic pillars where a massive audience gets the same information at the same time, but especially as algorithms start to grow and get used to curate our experiences more and more, we exist in our own little world without realizing that no one is having the same experience that we are. It's all an illusion. This song is pretty okay. What song are you guys on? What? Are you talking? I feel like I'm the only one here. Is anyone else listening?
Yeah, I'm busy.
I don't think this is how it should work. We're not sharing anything.
Well, fine. Did you see the video of the bear graduating college?
No.
It's hilarious. I just sent it to you.
Oh my god, that's AI and it's not funny.
Fine. I tried. Let's go back to your cute little lives and just die already.
Hey, everybody, bread's ready. What did I miss?
No. Bread is made from yoga mats.
What?
No, it isn't.
No! Oh, God. Okay, you are so dumb. It's like bad information manages to spread like the plague, all because people then want to listen to only influencers and not actual experts. And now we got to spend the rest of our lives debunking this stupid thing that doesn't even make sense.
You know, I liked you more when you weren't woke. Why don't you go back to sleep, loser?
Yeah,
I didn't have to think when you were anti-woke.
Ugh.
This is why I hate people. I don't really know how helpful that was. It's weird that a technology that connects us all together can be the same place that makes us feel the most isolated and lonely that we have ever been in our life. Whether it's through stupid challenges or inside jokes or general consumerism, like let's all find something and take it to such an extreme just to feel anything at all. Clout chasing and parasocial relationships, just anything to feel included, anything to feel like you are being seen or heard. Things just move fast, like trends come in, the ification of everything. Any bit of personality starts getting smoothed out, so you have websites that start looking and feeling the same, platforms that are copying each other to just be the same thing. Everyone issues the same apologies because you're gonna forget in a couple weeks anyway. Everyone has to jump in on the same trends, the same idea, the same thought, the same opinions, the contentification of everything. If you can't post it, then did it really happen? It just becomes this sea of sameness. Why then would that not apply to music? Now, I don't really want to litigate or defend the idea of monoculture. There's just one point that I want to get across, and that is, before internet, things one way. After internet, things new way. Culture changes, the landscape changes, but we keep trying to take the old way and translate it into the new instead of working on how to cultivate a new chapter. So, for example, album sales crashed in the 2000s. For decades, this was a metric that made sense to track. But the industry is so tied to this metric, instead of coming up with a new system or at least a metric that makes sense, the RIAA just says, we can make the old system work. Did you know 1,500 streams is now considered an album sale? Called an album equivalent unit. 1.5 billion cumulative streams, and the RIAA will certify your album platinum based on streaming alone. Why? What does that even mean? We didn't measure album equivalent units when a song got played on the radio. If people are not buying an album, why are we calculating equivalent units? Because the reality is, it is now possible that a small group can cause a critical mass to boost something into the mainstream. TikTok impressions do not contribute to the Billboard Hot 100 formula, but its influence can severely affect what gets signal boosted. It's just gotten to the point where it kind of relies on that. Remember that banger of a song that nobody wanted to make Song of the Summer? Alex Warren might be an unexpected winner and all that, but he isn't exactly a nobody. His entire life has been about getting to know how to get attention on social media.
My label was telling me it's not a hit, no one's gonna listen to a ballad, we should do this one pitch record. And I was like, no, this is the fucking song, this is going to change my life, believe in it. And no one believed in it. I posted on 6 different accounts 34 times, if not 40 times to Ordinary, and all of it flopped. We did 400 million views on my account to that song before it even came out. I believed in the record, and I'm the one who promoted it. No one promoted it. It was me.
That's the game now. And it's not so much about the song being good or bad. Ultimately, people do kind of have to like the song in order for it to be able to stay in the mainstream. And repetition is just a huge part of what makes us respond to a song on the radio. If the audience wasn't feeling it, it stopped getting played. But now, if you have the experience, if you can boost the reach, a video goes viral, a pre-built fan base in an era of stan culture, there just is no competition in the way that it used to be. So there is no threat. So when you're making playlist core, who's gonna force anyone to change when that's the game now? Ugh, this does make me feel old.
Oh, I gotta take a seat. My dogs are barking. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to get up for a while.
Did my ankle just pop doing that?
Johann Sebastian Bach was once offered the opportunity to buy music from Mozart. Bach held up his hand and said, "Sorry, I'm broke." Joke from when I was born. I will be referencing Ted Goya's book, Music, A Subversive History, if you're interested in learning more. Music is powerful. Those who are in power know it, and they try to control it. In Plato's Republic, he mentions the importance of music and music education for maintaining a civil society, but warns when entertainment is undisciplined, and children likewise, it's impossible for the children to grow up into disciplined and responsible men. He knew music was important, but also believed that the wrong kind of music would be the downfall of a society. They should beware of new forms of music, which are likely to affect the whole system of education. Changes in styles of music are always politically revolutionary. Brother even had opinions on which modes of music were healthy or detrimental to a civil order. This is the cycle. It starts with an idea of what music is, an ordained, approved version by the leaders, the establishment, the authorities of the time, whether it's the government or the church or the aristocrats, etc. Basically, old people. But there is always a groundswell of music from outsiders that have no value in adhering to that kind of music, and it starts to become popular. The authorities try to control and demonize it, but over time, that music tends to get purified, assimilated, and legitimized over time. Then, the cycle continues. Let's keep that in mind as we go back to the future. It's hard to imagine this now, but early 1900s pop music was basically buying sheet music, primarily written, created around New York City and Tin Pan Alley, going home and playing it to yourself. Meanwhile, other forms of music were taking shape, such as the blues. Blues would become one of the most influential forms of music in modern American culture, a sound that was not born out of New York, but out of the deep South. I'm just trying to not skim past the fact that it wasn't New York where the revolution in music was happening. It was mostly African American influences from the fringes of society that brought about eras of ragtime, jazz, swing, blues that had heavy influence on what would happen in the 50s and 60s. This is music that begins to spread from the least likely of places that couldn't be contained in our established understanding of music, but over time they do, and they get legitimized by the establishment. They get taken over and become influences to new artists. These new forms of music are usually driven by those gosh darn troublemakers who want that rebellious music. To the authorities, like our parents, the old people, this is a threat to the status quo. Post-war 1950s, the culture was very buttoned up, conservative. Anything that caused the kids to act out of their mind was dangerous. Suddenly, you have Chuck Berry showing up, telling Beethoven to roll over, playing that rock and roll ruckus, and it needs to stop. Oh, but thank goodness there is nice young man, Elvis Presley. He has some energy, soul, plus... What? Whoa! What is this scandalous display? Someone cover those hips. We live in a civil society. We have values to uphold. So then there would be a new idea of what the appropriate sound is. How do you do that? How do you do this? And then somebody else comes along and says, fuck that, I'm gonna do my own thing. And then suddenly, doing my own thing becomes the normal thing. We start innovating on new sounds. Every cycle brings new ideas, new innovation, new influences that shift music into a new era. Every act of rebellion scares the old generation for being different, while a new generation finds it exciting. NWA's Straight Outta Compton was incredibly controversial. Yet, in 2017, it was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress. Korn was an incredibly controversial band for its lyrics and its subject matter. And recently, Jonathan Davis is singing Freak on a Leash with a fucking orchestra. In Back to the Future, Marty starts by playing Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good. The kids would be familiar and excited about rock and roll. You definitely don't learn to dance like this overnight. Then at about the halfway point, Marty ends up blasting 3 decades of rebellion in about 2 minutes, starting with the swagger of a Chuck Berry, Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, probably some Pete Townsend as well. But the thing is, in Marty's time, those rebellions are not rebellions, they're revered and normalized. Let there be rock! To him, playing the guitar in 1985 doesn't mean showcasing technical prowess, it's about showmanship. And the kids are just like, what the actual fuck just happened? This is where I push back on every old or nostalgia reply. I didn't find that there was this new ruckus, and I had to ask, how the hell did we get here? Instead, I found you doing impressions of the music that I used to love, and not really bringing anything new to the table. If I'm old now, where the hell is your revolution, hooligans? Back in my day, if you wanted to stay relevant, you had to keep up or face the music. Where is that counterculture that makes somebody like a Taylor Swift shake in her boots to either up her game or fade away? Think of mainstream music like a shopping mall. Imagine all those stores are different bands, different sounds, trying to survive in the cutthroat attention-seeking space that is the mall, or the radio. You know, this is basically the radio, but it's the mall. But now, in the 2020s, the mall is dead. Only a couple stores left. You have the Taylor Swift store that can announce that it's the #1 store in the mall at any time. Drake has a burger shop where he's able to sell old beef. A whole wing has been taken over by K-pop. Enter at your own risk. And also a hot topic, because there's just always a hot topic. But we still pretend that that mall is relevant as a part of mainstream culture. Then I ended up listening to a band that kind of changed everything. Made me realize that not only is music not terrible, we may be in a golden age of music. And that band is Radiohead.
Stop. Just shush for a second. This is going somewhere. My mission was to listen to new music. Well, if I haven't heard it, it's new to me. There were 2 parts to this mission. Part 1 was recent, current, popular music. Part 2 was about confronting a personal bias. When I told you my history about how curious I was to give everything a try, I lied. Not to you, because that's what I believed. I was lying to myself. There were albums and artists that I refused to listen to for one reason or another, not because I hated them, I just didn't think it mattered. And I don't want to go through the whole list or explain why. Let's just say I honestly have made a huge mistake. I only want to talk about Radiohead. They've always been in the back of my mind because when it would come up in conversation, it was always by those music types wearing their Dave Matthews Band shirt, sucking the enjoyment of music out of the room like an energy vampire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the creep guys? So, I listened to all of Radiohead. Oh, actually, let's do a tier list.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the Radiohead studio albums. If you like what you are seeing, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, but now on with it. Okay, so first up I have Pablo Honey, and it was fine. I enjoyed it. I wasn't super into it. I am going to go ahead and give that a C. The bends. I think that there was a decent improvement in not only the tone, but the quality. I'm still going to go ahead and give it a B. Where did the rest of the albums go? Oh, there they are. God tier.
Radiohead made me wonder if I even liked music. Not whether or not I was curious, but if I ever liked music. The 90s, 2000s version of me that went to the mall and was so dazzled, and I was blinded by the fact that the mall can be fun, but it's also kind of a shallow experience. In a way, I knew that. I found MUSE because of maybe one song on the radio, but I was familiar with their catalog long before hearing other songs of theirs in public. No. Get out of here. Mainstream has never been about the best of the best rising to the top. It's been about the right sound at the right time that was perfectly commercial that a lot of people kind of liked for a second or two. Some of the most thoughtful, innovative, interesting music would never survive a radio-friendly popularity contest. I liked hanging out at the mall, and for decades, I think a lot of people did. It might have been a shallow experience, but it was still a fun time. So when I thought, I need to listen to new current music, I thought, let's go to the mall. And that's the moment that I realized I've become old. It's funny, it just sneaks up on you in the weirdest ways that you do not expect. So, what does that mean? At the beginning of this video, I mentioned a Reddit post where the responses were, you weren't looking deep enough. And then somebody would list a bunch of albums and artists that nobody heard of. I started to write those down. I started asking friends and community members what their favorite albums were. Searched anywhere where people were soliciting some kind of music that they were into. If I was unfamiliar, I put it on the list. New, old, didn't matter. I just started digging. And music is fucking fantastic, actually. I'll admit, it was a rough start at first. The first couple of albums that I listened to didn't quite click with me. However, the more that I dug, the more I noticed a massive world opening up in front of me. All kinds of sounds and innovation and interest. And it wasn't long before I ended up starting to run into music that I love. Just like when you're young, you might get introduced to new music because of what your friends are listening to, or maybe a sibling. But as you get older, that's a lot more difficult. You might end up having to go to the crazy person at the record store who is more than happy to tell you the thing that you should be listening to. They might send you home with Fleetwood Mac's Rumors or Something by Swans. For decades, I think we were able to ignore the need to have to dig. There was a lot of revolution that was being fought in the public, in the mainstream, that we got delivered directly to us on the radio. And now you do have to be a lot more active if you want to be able to expand and explore, or you leave it up to the algorithms, live in your own little world, and let the playlist feed you the same smooth experience that honestly you probably aren't even paying attention to anyway.
We now have access to infinite music, entire eras available at our fingertips, and it's not just about the new, it's the ability of being able to get lost in older music is also quite fulfilling. Over the last several months, I've now listened to hundreds of albums, and it's crazy that sometimes I have to double check the year that whatever it is that I'm listening to, because something from the 70s doesn't exactly sound out of place from things that I'm listening to in the 2020s. But I do want to go back and talk about my idea of playlist core, TM. I think there is an argument to be made that at any time that we've had this lull period in the mainstream, that That's also playlist core, whether it was oversaturation of a particular sound, just this uninspired derivative music that's just trying to get attention and you wonder if you've been listening to the same song for 30 minutes now. However, I've also noticed that there will be songs that I kind of don't care too much for as a single, but I will listen to the album that it comes from and find that I appreciate it a lot more. Before I came up with the idea of playlist core, I was kind of thinking, this is like a collection of album tracks. Like, is the single the thing that's actually dead here? Because listen, this was actually a huge problem in the 90s and 2000s. There was so much of a focus of having a hit song that you'll hear something that you like, buy the album, and then the rest of the album sounded nothing like that song. And what was funny is there was a cure for that. It was called Napster, and it devastated album sales to the point where now we have to count streams as album equivalent units. The revolution may not be the music itself, but about the industry. Maybe there is something that is growing underneath all of this that is part of what that new revolution is. Plus, we have this issue where we've sliced up genres so thin that it makes it hard to be able to tell what is the new sound. It isn't considered a revolution if you're able to box it up from the jump. Like, that's not new, that's just shoegaze, hyperpop, electro funk. How does a counterculture break containment? When you can name it and just stash it away. You also have the other problem of, you know what can mimic playlist core really well? AI. I am also concerned that having infinite music available at our fingertips commoditizes music in a way that devalues not only the experience, but what it takes to actually make music. However, if we understand that and we are in control and curators of our own experience, it also has the ability to grow our appreciation at a lower risk. Like, how much money or time would it have cost me to listen to all of Radiohead before now? Or other discographies. Like, I'm finding a deep appreciation for artists both old and new because that risk has become so low. It's making me want to see live music again, to start a physical collection again, and figure out how I can more directly support the artists that I love. I also don't know how to do that. The predatory nature of the industry seems to just be getting worse, and I'm kind of over it.
Not cool, bro.
If this resonated with you and you've been in a mood of feeling like music is terrible now and feeling a bit stuck, it really does not need to be that hard. Now, I'll tell you, I'm insane. I've been listening to everything from hyperpop to post-rock, but you could do really simple things like go through the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time list, or join a project like 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die to just help you break the cycle and start listening to stuff that's just new and different. Some of it will be challenging. You will not like everything, but take the time to listen. No bailing, no skipping, no distractions. Get off your phone. Music has changed. But so have I. Because I'm old. Leave a comment with your favorite albums you think I haven't heard, and maybe I'll put it on the list. Now, if you'll excuse me, this is my jam.
I should get out.
How deep is your iceberg? How deep is your iceberg?
Well, you're new, aren't you? While writing the script, MUSE released a new album called The Wow Signal, and I listened to it. Now, I want you to understand that I went into listening to this album actively wanting to hate it, and it turns out I didn't actually hate it. I might actually like it, but we'll have to see. I'll have to give it another listen. So yeah, you can stay for now. That's it. End of the video. Bye.